Broadcasting from Manhattan Beach and the World Wide Web, you're listening to CHSR, HealthyLife.net.
As a service to our listeners, this program is for general information and entertainment purposes only. CHSR HealthyLife.net does not recommend, endorse, or object to the views, products, or topics expressed or discussed by show hosts or their guests. We suggest you always consult with your own personal, medical, financial, or legal advisor.
Welcome to HealthyLife.net's Visionary Celebrity Series, a place where you get to call in and talk live to a world-renowned expert. Today's show is Mind Health Matters with Dr. Bernie Siegel, a world-renowned expert on mind, body medicine, and patient empowerment. So let's welcome Dr. Bernie Siegel.
Welcome, Dr. Bernie Siegel. I didn't take my medicine today, so you may be in for a difficult time. But anyway, our guest today is somebody I agree with, so I'm having a good time. Dr. Jamie Turndorf, T-U-R-N-D-O-R-F, and it's a woman, not a man, with the name Jamie. But her story, mine is even similar to it now.
I can't hear you. I'm really sorry.
13 years ago, she said her life took a shocking turn when her husband of 30 years died. And
I can't hear your feet.
Obama has named him as one of the 50 men of all time, one with God.
Bernie, let me interrupt you, Bernie. Dr. Jamie's having difficulty hearing you. Can you maybe speak a little louder in the phone?
I'm hearing in the feed.
To my mouth, because I get into a trance. Anyway, Dr. Jamie Turndorf and I have both lost our spouses. Hers was 13 years ago, mine 2 years ago. And she has written a book and bestseller, Love Never Dies. And I know that's true. And I really think in terms of creation, as an aside, that the whole point of life is to experience and spread love. And the subtitle of her book, How to Reconnect and Make Peace with the Deceased. What's happening?
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Anyway, she's had a radio show, Love Never Dies, and has done other things with the Hay House. She also mentioned that because of lightning, I don't know the exact story, but lightning triggered a premature birth, her premature birth at 6 months. And many childhood fevers kept her in a state of grace, enabling her, she felt, to dip into divine wisdom throughout her life and career. Working with her extends beyond traditional reading.
Okay, great. Okay.
Jamie is a highly sensitive, skilled doctor, 35 years of experience at helping people discover their vibrancy, joy, love, prosperity, and transformation. Her new energetic system upgrade method can guide you to discover boundless love and healing and prosperity. I mean, I think we'll try to discuss many of these things, but particularly connection with the loss of loved ones. And she's a frequent keynote speaker and workshop leader all over the place. Jamie?
Hey, Bernie.
Hi, dear.
Oh, that's better.
I don't know never know where to begin, but people are changing now versus years ago. Just a brief couple of words and then back to you. My wife died 2 years ago. We haven't stopped communicating.
Right.
I mean, even though it's 2 years now, the other night, I hear sounds in the bedroom at night, not to mention her giving me what I call, a puff kiss, because I hear the sound you make blowing out a candle, and then I feel a breeze on my face. And it's like, what where's that coming from? And I think it's her way of saying good night. But during the night, I hear human sound. You know, like I always say to people, if you're lying in bed and you turn over, you go, ugh. And I hear those sounds. And again, the other night, I started to sit up and ask her if she needed any help. And this is 2 years now, you know. So, yeah, I know I'm a little nuts, but it always impresses me how the sound connects in my brain and makes me think she's still lying there and I'm hearing her. So I don't, you know, they say love never dies, consciousness never dies. So I know that there's a capability of sharing that, and it's just, it goes on and on, finding the pennies from heaven, and it just never ends. So I'm convinced from my experience. I don't need to be convinced, and I don't worry if people believe or don't believe, but it is amazing. What did you go through, and how did it redirect you?
Well, my eternal love story with Jean has actually led me to a new healing method that's changing lives. And maybe I could just share with your listeners a little bit about my story so that they see how it evolved. It's quite an amazing thing. So for nearly 30 years, you know, I was married to the love of my life. His name was Émile Jean Pain. He had been one of the world's most famous former Jesuit priests. He had taught at the Vatican and founded the liberation theology movement to fight church oppression from within. He was a champion of the oppressed and a radical feminist. He didn't want to see women trapped in marriages where they were being abused. And he fought the Pope and the Catholic Church in their attempts to block the legalization of divorce. And he ultimately triumphed and got the divorce bill passed and changed the course of Italian history. And by the way, I'm not going to be talking about a crazy religious cult because also my background is totally different from Jean's. I was raised by two devoutly atheist Jewish parents. The only religion they practiced was religiously hating each other's guts and mine, and they taught me not to believe in God or the afterlife. Now, right after Jean fought the Pope gave him the dispensation of his vows. He left the Jesuit order and the priesthood, and Vassar College recruited him to be the chair of the Department of Sociology. Now, when I was a little girl, I had a detailed premonition of this man that I was going to marry. I saw his face and his body, so I said, I'm just not going to date. I'm going to wait until that man appears in my life. Very medieval concept for a girl in the 70s at Vassar College, but I did wait. And he appeared to me actually on the first day of my freshman year at Vassar. I had been shut out of all interest sociology, and the secretary of the department said, ask the chair, Jean Pain, if he can find a seat for you in one of the closed sections. Well, the minute I stepped into his office, I had the first and only out-of-body experience of my life. I felt my soul shooting at high speed through a tunnel to the end of my life. And when I returned to my body, I received the message, remember every aspect of this meeting, he's going to be everything to you one day. And long story short, despite our profoundly different backgrounds, we were inseparable for nearly 30 years. We wrote books together, and we rejoiced in every moment we spent together. And during my almost 30-year marriage with him, I became known as Dr. Love, founded the web's first relationship advice site, hosted the Ask Dr. Love radio show, and saw patients. This was for, almost 30 years. In the last year of Jean's bodily life, we both started having a premonition that he was going to leave his body from an accident. We didn't know when or where it was going to happen. And then we left for our final vacation in Italy. And on the day we left, lightning struck our rose arbor and just destroyed it. And then I saw hundreds of crows in the backyard, and I thought, uh-oh, these are omens. We went to Italy all the same, and one day, while we were sitting on the beach, a bee swooped down and stung his left hand at the exact location of Christ's stigmata. And, Bernie, I watched my beloved suffocate in front of my eyes. Now, I was hysterical to have him ripped from me. That is not even an understatement. I was hysterical. But this is where my magic begins. From the minute Jean left his body, he started making his presence known to me, often in front of witnesses, moving objects, turning machines and lights on and off. And my experiences with him proved to me, that former atheist, we don't die, we just leave our bodies. And I learned that the energy of our soul essence just moves into what we call the dark matter, or heaven, or afterlife. So because I was already known, I used my social media presence and my name to share videos of Jean's manifestations to let the whole world know we don't die. And then one day, Bernie, I heard Jean say, "Tell our story, let our love shine like a torch that lights the path for others." And so it became clear to me then that our relationships with those in spirit shouldn't end, because we don't end. We just leave our bodies. And that communicating with those in spirit is nothing more than learning how to send and receive energetic communications to and from the dark matter. So following Jean's guidance, I created what I called the trans-dimensional grief resolution method that enables anyone to energetically reconnect, dialogue, and heal any unfinished business with any being in spirit. And everybody's got some unfinished business. So I published my memoir, Love Never Dies, and I introduced the trans-dimensional grief resolution method, and Hay House published it. It became #1, and I hosted the Love Never Dies show on the Hay House Radio Network for nearly 3 years. Now, I had heard Jean say to me, "You can't give up, you can't die. We have so much work left to do in our ministry." And I thought that the ministry was just connecting souls on earth and spirit planes and helping them heal unfinished business. But I recently discovered, Bernie, that there was an additional method that was going to be the next step in our ministry. And that's what has come about in the last couple of years, because right after Jean left his body, he told me, well, do you want me to continue with this, Bernie? Because this is like the continuation.
I have to ask you something. Why do you call it dark matter? What's the definition?
The dark matter is the scientific name. It's a great question, Bernie. The scientists and the quantum physicists have discovered that 80% of our universe is comprised of what they call dark matter or dark energy, because it doesn't reflect light. And they have understood that this is part of our world, and now we understand that this dark matter is where heaven or the afterlife, or where the energy of our soul essence goes into this dark matter. And one of the first things Jean said after he left his body was, death is an illusion. There's a very thin veil between the realm where you are and the realm where I am. The veil is thinner than you can imagine. I'm standing right here. And I believe he was describing to me, in lay terms, the dark matter, which is where we all seem to move into.
Well, let me say this, too, just, for the doubters who haven't hung up. One of my patients was a mystic, which I didn't know that. I was just taking care of her. But one day she came in the office and said, "Bernie, I realize you're not a normal doctor." And I was meeting with other mystics, and I said, "Let's see if we have a message for Bernie." And she gave me this quote. The exact words were, "If I knew it was this easy, I wouldn't have resisted so much."
Exactly.
And she told me the man's name, Frank. So I called Frank's wife, and I said, "This is a message, and I don't want to upset you if you don't want to hear it." And she said, "No, what is it?" So I said it, and she let out a shriek. I said, "I told you I don't want to upset you." She said, "You're not upsetting me. That's what he said. Exactly what he said every time we left your meeting. I can't buy the baggage, etc." And this mystic patient of mine has become my friend. And, communication, you might say, with the dead. I refer people in our support group whose loved ones die, say, "You want to get a message? Call Monica, and she'll get something for you." And when Bobby died, my wife, she doesn't know it. I mean, she doesn't live next door to me. So I didn't call her, I didn't inform her, I didn't ask anything of her. My wife died on Friday, and on Sunday, the phone rings, and it's Monica. "Bernie, I had a lovely lady who was an opera singer get in touch with me and tell me that Bobby's fine, together with the family, everything's all right." And again, what convinces me, my wife's mother was a well-known opera singer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I always say, how the hell can Monica know that?
You don't know. It just comes straight. It comes straight
That's
through
right.
from spirit. Yeah, things you couldn't know.
So I don't question it at all. You know, all the, as you were saying. Yeah, well, you know, Linda, I needed a pair of gloves. My gloves had holes in them and my hands were cold. So I said to my wife, honey, I need a pair of gloves. I go drive down to Stop and Shop, pull into the, parking area, go into the store. I come back, and right next to the driver's door on the ground were two gloves, gloves. And the car next to me was the same car that was there when I parked. And there are other times where I'll get out of the car, go open the trunk, and there were pennies on the floor in that parking space. And I hear a voice also tell me, park in that space. And then I go there, and I know why. We were married on the 11th. 5 times I found a dime and a penny in bizarre places, from in a bird bath, which was covered with leaves and dirty water. And the boy said to me, clean the bird bath. So I dump everything out, and in the bottom is a dime and a penny. In the supermarket, 2 or 3 times I found a dime and a penny when the boy said, go in that lane to check out. And I go into that lane, and right on the belt is a dime and a penny. Say, how does the money end up on the belt? It would have gone, been pushed over.
Right, and they'll materialize coins, which is called an apport, and they'll come out of nowhere. I had a financial analyst at my house, and I had just put workout pants in the dryer, and there were no pockets in there, and there was nothing in the dryer, and I heard my husband say, go to the dryer, and you'll find a quarter minted the year we were married. And there I go, and there it is. I mean, the pennies from heaven, quarters from heaven. Part of the transdimensional method is that I help you go beyond the signs to actually engage in a direct communication, because you can raise your vibration and learn to tune to the spirit channel. It's just sort of like, well, if the spirit channel broadcasts on CBS and your vibration is on NBC, you're not going to hear them. So you raise your vibration, and then you're able to hear the energetic communication that's coming through. This isn't even so hokey anymore. Quantum physicists can explain it, string theory, the atoms, the energetic frequency of our thoughts continue. There's so much research about this and so much science explaining it.
Numbers, quantity, and meaning. And after my wife died, the organ in my body that went a little crazy was my heart, which seemed totally in agreement with all the things I'm teaching people, And I went to the hospital. Now, my wife was born on 9/9. I walk into the emergency room, and a voice falls out, put him in room 9. The next day, we have a room upstairs for you in the hospital. It was 819. And 8 is a new beginning number. That's the meaning of that number. So, and if you add it up, it would be 99. When I looked at the wristband they put on me to identify me, there's an 8 and a 1, 2 6s, 2 3s, and 3 9s. So everything that identified me adds up to 9. And so did the case number, all of them. And I've saved all of them. I mean, I'm not still going to the hospital, but when you go to the doctor, they give you a wristband too at Yale. So I have about 7 or 8 wristbands. Every single one, if you add the numbers on it, they come out to 9s. One didn't one day, and I thought, oh my, what's happening? And then I looked and said, dumbbell, it's a 7-11 this time. In other words, my numbers were still 9s, but the visit number were 7 and 4, 7 and 7-4. So it was 7/11, our anniversary day. And it just, as I said, why I can't throw them out. I mean, I just got to keep them. And when I look at them, they give me energy, and I feel my wife. And what are you doing for people? How do you help them with what's happened to you?
So So now, since Jean left his body, I began going all over the world, helping people with the transdimensional grief resolution method, teaching them through the Love Club online how to reconnect and stay connected, because to me, grief is a symptom that you're disconnected. And reconnecting is really the only cure, because when we form a bond, it's eternal. We're not meant to be separated from the people we love, and reconnecting is the only solution. And obviously, most everyone has unfinished business, and traditional Western grief therapy doesn't offer us a way of resolving the unfinished business. So what I do with the people who are grieving, and in general, when the grief is protracted, it's because there's some unfinished business. You're not connected, and you have unfinished business. So we dialogue. It's called dialoguing with the departed, and we talk back and forth, and I guide them to heal the unfinished business. And sometimes it takes a little bit of effort, because if you've been abused, it's not so straightforward. If you were sexually, emotionally, or physically violated by a parent or sibling or relative, you'll need to do ongoing dialogue in order to heal and resolve what's not healed.
Then we'll come back. I want to get into this technique itself. All right.
The Book of Miracles by Dr. Bernie Siegel contains inspiring stories of healing, gratitude, and love. Heartwarming and heart-opening, these stories were gathered from decades of his medical practice. The stories are riveting, warm, and demonstrate what we are capable of. They show that we can achieve miracles as we confront life's difficulties. Discover the importance of how changing from the inside out opens the door for a miracle to take place, and more, in Dr. Bernie Siegel's new book, A Book of Miracles. Get it now at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or your favorite bookstore. Dr. Bernie Siegel's A Book of Miracles.
What would happen if you didn't follow the established path? Would you feel scared or proud? Could you explain that helping the people of Peru improve their own community would also have an effect on your own? Would you rather make your own way or spend a lifetime saying, what if? Life is calling. How far will you go? Peace Corps. To find out more, call 1-800-424-8580 or go to peacecorps.gov.
Before you go to bed in the middle of the night when you can't sleep, or in the morning fresh from dreams, Dr. Bernie Siegel is up ahead of you. The light is on at his writing desk. Maybe, amazingly, he's been mulling over the very same thing you've been thinking about. Introducing Words and Swords, the new series of journaling journeys with poetic thoughts by Bernie Siegel, M.D. Each of Bernie's poems is paired with space for you to express your feelings and thoughts, providing you with the opportunity for healing and growth, and to laugh a little with Dr. Bernie Siegel. Order Words and Swords now at 800-723-0336. That's 800-723-0336.
Love, Magic, and Mud Pies is a brand new book by Bernie Siegel, M.D. It helps you raise your kids to feel loved, be kind, and make a difference. Bernie, a husband of over 50 years, father of 5 children, and grandparent of 8, shares the gems of wisdom he has gathered from his practice and his own family life. Using his caring, comforting, down-to-earth style, Bernie's book answers parenting questions and gives you a wealth of quotes, anecdotes, and parenting tips, delivered with just the right dose of compassion, inspiration, and gentle humor. Love, Magic, and Mud Pies, an insightful, supportive, must-have guide on every aspect of parenting. Love, Magic, and Mud Pies by Bernie Siegel, M.D. is available on Amazon.com and fine bookstores everywhere. Order it today. And don't forget to hear Bernie Siegel's show, Mind, Health Matters, right here on HealthyLife.net.
You're listening to CHSR Real Radio on the web.
Back, everyone. This is Lionel Ketchian, and we're on with Dr. Bernie Siegel and Dr. Jamie Turndorf. Jamie, you were talking about your husband being a Jesuit priest and, making some changes at the Vatican, talking with talking things over with the Pope. I think it's very interesting because one of my favorite books is a book by a Jesuit priest, and it's about happiness. It's called Awareness by Anthony DeMello. He was a Jesuit priest and a real radical. He wrote a book, The Way of Love. He wrote another one called Contact with God. So these Jesuits are a force to be reckoned with. Maybe you can talk a little about that, and also how he's continuing to lead you in pioneering understanding with.
Right, because the Jesuit order was founded in the 18th century by Ignatius of Loyola, and his philosophy was Jesuits should be in the world but not of the world. So Jesuits were in every walk of life, even Jesuit gynecologists. I know that seems like a non sequitur. The truth is, gynecologists, they did everything. And Jean himself was the first French priest, the first Jesuit to study sociology. So he was a scholar. He had 10 doctoral degrees, spoke 10 languages. It's a very academic order. And so he was in the world, but then he would return to the monastery at night. He was not a diocesan or secular priest. He didn't, work in a church parish and deliver. He was a scholar, really. So, yeah.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yeah.
So, and he's continuing.
Right, he was always a radical, fighting for the oppressed, and so when he said, you can't give up, you can't die, we have so much work left to do in our ministry, he told me that within the first week he left his body, and we had our first argument. I said, ministry, what are you talking about? I'm a Jewish atheist. What are you talking about? But then I went on to understand what he meant, and then, well, he asked me to expand our ministry in the last year, and I'll talk about that whenever you guys are ready. But Bernie, did you guys want to talk more about the transdimensional grief resolution method and how that works to help people heal unfinished business? And then I can talk about the expansion in the last year.
Let people know what you're doing.
Okay, so I'm going to talk you through this, all right?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk you through it. So what happens is, one of my patients said to me, listen, I wish my mother would hurry up and die so we could work this out already. And that was no joke. Because when we leave our bodies, we get a life review. We know this from people who have had near-death experiences and come back. You see your life before your eyes. You see how you messed up. So what this means is that once you leave your body, you're primed to work it out with those on the earth plane because you know how you messed up. And your own soul development and evolution requires you to face what you've done and work it out with those on the earth plane. I will never forget a woman I was working with whose father sexually violated her and left home when she was 10. And every day she went to the mailbox hoping to get a letter or a message from him. She never heard from him forever again. And one day, decades later, she was crossing the Newburgh Beacon Bridge when she felt a wave come over her and she knew her father left his body. So again, the energy, she picked up on that feeling through what I call the energy pipeline. She came to me for work and I put her in a trance. And she was working with me in the group, in the Love Club. And in the trance, what we do is we all raise our vibration through the meditation for making contact. Once you're in the trance, you begin to have a conversation with that being in spirit. And we talk out loud. We don't keep it silent. And when we speak, we not only say our part of the dialogue, we also speak the words that we hear coming back to us from the other person we're dialoguing with. It's very important that you speak the words coming back because the neurotransmitters in the brain alter when we hear healing words and messages coming in through the ear as opposed to just thinking them. So she began her dialogue, and she basically told him, I'm never going to forgive you for leaving me and never coming back. And she breathed, and then I asked her to say what she heard coming back from him. And she heard a partial sentence. She heard, I didn't know what. That's all she heard. But in the group, you have the benefit of other people who perhaps are more able to perceive the energetic communication. Others heard, I didn't know what else to do, because that was what I heard as well. It was in the era before there was help for pedophiles and child abusers, so he didn't know what else to do to protect her but leave. So she then raged at him and raged at him. I'm never going to forgive you. And part of the transdimensional grief resolution method is not shoving or forcing forgiveness down someone's throat, because all that does is push the anger into a very shallow grave. It's not resolved. So what I say is you must stay angry until it's resolved, until you come to a state of understanding and acceptance. Then that's what we're looking for. So she dialogued with him, you're not going to get off that easily, and he basically said to her, you can rage at me as long as you need to, because my soul development requires me to face what I've done. They're still growing in spirit. They need us to help them as much as we need their help. So she continued working with him in the love club with me, and eventually she came to an understanding. He left to try to protect her. He had been violated by his father. She came to peace, and she went on to do work helping other people who have been violated. So, I mean, that's a little brief overview of the experience of the transdimensional grief resolution method.
It's just all the communication that when one of the common themes, let me put it that way, is that when we quiet our mind, what I symbolize as the still pond in so many stories, where you see you're a swan looking in a still pond. See, I always say the ugly duckling didn't leave home cursing his mother. I mean, words from my patients. My mother's words were eating away at me and maybe gave me cancer. The anger, the rage that's inside of you.
It's a cancer that eats you up.
The duckling didn't walk away saying, what a rotten mother. And then he could see the beauty of himself. And Joseph Campbell used the symbolism of a tiger dying giving birth, and she was chasing goats before she gave birth. And the goats come over and say, oh, let's raise the little kid. Don't let it die. Which touched my heart. They didn't stamp on it and say, that rotten mother, let's kill the kid.
But the thing is, sometimes you have to say that rotten mother until you work through the feelings. You can't always come to that resolution until you accept, I am angry, and then you come to the hurt under the anger. It's a process, and you have to feel held and accepted where you are in order to be able to move through it.
Finish the story, because when another tiger comes and sees the goat and sees the tiger and says, hey, stupid, you're not a goat, you're a tiger. Come with me. And he takes him to a still pond so he can see the two of them reflected. And it's interesting because what you're saying, that how the symbolism of the image, when people don't know who they are, what a mess their lives become. If a tiger is acting like a goat, he isn't going to do very well in terms of what he becomes and what he looks like and everything else. So it's a very interesting reflection.
And we're all tigers and we're all goats, and we have all these parts of ourselves. And part of being...
We have to learn to know ourselves.
You have to and accept all your feelings. They're just farts. Some are big.
And that we're not our bodies. I mean, I've had an unusual life, and including having a near-death experience as a 4-year-old choking on a toy. And I can remember when I talked about it, I would say the kid on the bed. And it's part of what you reminded me of. I never said I watched myself dying. I always talked about the kid on the bed.
Well, you were already out of your body at that moment.
Yeah. I began to realize, do you realize what you're saying? That's not you. And one other, when my mother-in-law died, because it's interesting, something you reflected on, I saw sort of a wave come over my head where I was located, and I knew it was her because she said goodbye to me. So I went to her nursing home, and the nurse said, oh, you've heard, as I walked in the door. Yeah, I heard from my mother-in-law.
All right, we're going to be taking a break right now, and we'll be back in just a moment with Dr. Jamie and Dr. Bernie.
Before Before you go to bed in the middle of the night when you can't sleep, or in the morning, fresh from dreams, Dr. Bernie Siegel is up ahead of you. The light is on at his writing desk. Maybe, amazingly, he's been mulling over the very same thing you've been thinking about. Introducing Words and Swords, the new series of journaling journeys with poetic thoughts by Bernie Siegel, MD. Each of Bernie's poems is paired with space for you to express your feelings and thoughts, providing you with the opportunity for healing and growth, and to laugh a little with Dr. Bernie Siegel. Order Words and Swords now at 800-723-0336. That's 800-723-0336.
What does HealthyLife.net and Amazon.com have in common? Well, they're both available on the Internet. They both give great value. But most important, most of our positive program hosts and guests are accomplished authors, and their books are available from, you got it, Amazon.com. Now, it even gets better than that, because when you're listening on air to a HealthyLife.net host or guest, you can go directly to Amazon.com, and you can order your book while you're still listening to your favorite HealthyLife.net program. So when you hear an author you like, go to the homepage of HealthyLife.net and click on Amazon.com.
A Book of Miracles by Dr. Bernie Siegel contains inspiring stories of healing, gratitude, and love. Heartwarming and heart-opening, these stories were gathered from decades of his medical practice. The stories are riveting, warm, and demonstrate what we are capable of. They show that we can achieve miracles as we confront life's difficulties. Discover the importance of how changing from the inside out opens the door for a miracle to take place, and more, in Dr. Bernie Siegel's new book, A Book of Miracles. Get it now at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or your favorite bookstore. Dr. Bernie Siegel's A Book of Miracles.
What can you learn from exceptional patients? Plenty. No matter what disease you are dealing with, Dr. Bernie Siegel's book, Peace, Love, and Healing, can help you identify the hidden factors that may be stopping you from getting well. What are the hidden factors? Are you ready? Guilt and blame. Find out how guilt and blame is related to your lifestyle and illness. In Peace, Love, and Healing, Bernie, as he likes to be called, will tell you what steps you can take to heal a life and cure a disease. Peace, Love, and Healing. Get it today at fine bookstores or at Bernie's website, ecap-online.org.
You're listening to CHSR Real Radio on the web.
Okay, we're back on Mind Health Matters, and Dr. Jamie, you were going to start explaining some more things that we'd love to hear more about.
Oh, you're so sweet, Len. Well, before I tell you how the ministry has expanded, when Bernie, you were describing how you were watching your body because you'd actually left your body and then you came back into your body, it made me think of something that happened a year or so ago when I was teaching Love Never Dies workshop at Lilydale. I'm actually going to be at Lilydale this summer. They're making a weekend around Love Never Dies. I'll be the keynote speaker July 18th. Well, after I did my workshop there a year or so ago, I heard my husband say, walk to the lake for you to speak with someone. So I go to the lake, and right then I see a man in a kayak. And I hear him paddle over, and I say hello to him. And the next thing you know, he proceeds to tell me his mother is in a nursing home with Alzheimer's. And I hear the mother say, you're a very devoted and good son, but you don't have to keep coming every day because I'm not in my body anymore. I'm not in my body. So I said to him, your mom's not in her body anymore. And he said, what are you talking about? I go, every day she's still living. And I said, no, she's saying, even though the shell of her body is there, her soul has already left her body. And I began to wonder at that point, with dementia and Alzheimer's, whether they've already left their bodies. That was just an aside. So we can leave our bodies in sleep. When we go into a meditation, we can have an out-of-body journey. We often, the coaches that I train in the method, they'll go out of body and connect with their loved ones in spirit and dialogue with them and come back into the body. You know, this vessel, it's an illusion anyway. So during the break, I said to you guys I was going to tell you how the ministry expanded with Jean's help. Would you like me to go there?
Whatever, feels right for you.
All right. Well, then
you got my vote.
Right.
All right, you guys. so, all right, this is a little personal, and it's kind of like a tragic love story, if you want, but it has a good ending. So right after Jean left his body, I'm standing in the guest room, and he says to me, I'm going to send you a man who's younger, never married, no children, and he's going to be grateful to you for saving his life the way you saved mine. I heard this, and I let it go. And then 2 years ago, Jean did send that man. It was 3 weeks prior to Jean's anniversary. I call that the anniversary, the day they're birthed into the spirit body. And it was 3 weeks prior, and I'm working and writing, and I feel waves of love pouring into me out of nowhere. When your loved one in spirit comes to you, it's a tidal wave of love. It's much stronger than the love we often feel on the earth plane. I just knew it was Jean. And then, on the morning of the meeting of this man, I was the victim of identity theft, and I had to call the New York State Police. And I'm standing on the porch of this house where I'm living, waiting for the trooper's arrival, and the tidal waves of love are so strong, I can't even breathe. And I knew Jean was up to something, and I literally looked up, and I said, "What are you up to?" And then the trooper arrived. And just before I saw his face, because he was obstructed by a white birch that blocked my view from the porch, before I saw him, I felt this bolt of love, and I heard, "You're meant to introduce him to his immortal soul." And he takes one look at me, jolts, and says, "Do I know you? I feel I've always known you." And I knew then that Jean was bringing this man to me. And it was unbelievable. And the sad part of the story is I found out that he was a 4-time Afghanistan vet with very bad PTSD, and he had to withdraw and hide in a cave, and he stopped talking to me. And this broke my heart, Bernie and Lionel. I entered such a dark night of the soul. I was heartbroken. I just didn't even want to see this man on the road, and being a trooper, I would see him on the road. At the same time, I was evicted from where I was living. The owner was getting divorced, needed to take residence where I was living, and the combination of my heartbreak and the eviction, and I literally felt like I was burned out of New York. And I might not have had the courage to leave where I had lived my entire adult life had these two events not occurred. Now, it made no sense to me at all, but I moved to Florida. Now, I had a feeling that the move was the next step in the expansion of my ministry with Jean. And just over a year ago, I felt I was being asked to develop an energetic healing method like nothing we've ever experienced before. And I don't know if you know this, Bernie, but I've always been able to do hands-on and distance healings with people and animals. And so throughout my 36-year career as a doctor, I just gave the gift to my patients or friends and family. I never advertised. I never spoke about the gift. Well, after Jean left his body, those abilities expanded. So now I'm in Florida, and my publicist says to me, "I want you to talk to a psychic and see if you can get some clarity on this new energetic healing method." And he said, "When you talk to the psychic, do not tell her your name. You're too well known, and she can look up what you're doing. Don't say a word." So in the reading, she says to me, "This year you're going to come out using your own name, not this stage name you've been using." Now, she didn't know I'm known as Dr. Love. And she said, "You're going to be hosting a TV show where you're going to be sharing your new healing method." And within a week of hanging up with her, I started a TV show called Dr. Turndorf, Turn on the Love on Binge Network's TV. Now, the psychic also said, "The name of your new method is going to be something like the energetic equalizer." And I thought, no, you'd have to hand out a bottle of Pepto-Bismol with every, this barfy. I didn't like it. So that night, I said to Jean, "Please help me come up with the name for this new method you're asking me to develop." So I'm in my Zoom coaches training group that night, and suddenly we all hear a computerized voice say, "Ding! Excuse me, time for a system upgrade." Now, we were all flabbergasted because every one of us said the voice did not come from her computer. And sure enough, Jean answered my request. He delivered the name of this new method, the energetic system upgrade. So I'm like, great, okay, now I know what it is. I know the name, but what is the method? I have no idea. And then I was introduced to the publishers of Masters of Health magazine, Sabina and Michael Stanislavski, and they are the U.S. distributors of electromagnesium. It's a potent and very pure and powerful form of transdermal magnesium. And as I started to research, I discovered, wait a minute, Magnesium is needed in over 1,000 bodily functions. Every disorder and disease is in disguise. We need magnesium for every organ, electrical and energetic function, our brain, our heart. Everyone has a deficiency, and all it takes is one stress, one accident, one illness, and we excrete the magnesium, and as time goes on, our deficiency worsens, which is why we get sicker over time, and we can't replenish the magnesium through oral supplementation, which gives gastrointestinal problems, or we don't absorb it. Transdermal magnesium is the solution. So I discovered the transdermal magnesium, and then I know we have to take a break. I'll tell you when we come back how it connects to the energetic system upgrade.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
Before you go to bed in the middle of the night when you can't sleep, or in the morning fresh from dreams, Dr. Bernie Siegel is up ahead of you. The light is on at his writing desk. Maybe, amazingly, he's been mulling over the very same thing you've been thinking about. Introducing Words and Swords, the new series of journaling journeys with poetic thoughts by Bernie Siegel, M.D. Each of Bernie's poems is paired with space for you to express your feelings and thoughts, providing you with the opportunity for healing and growth, and to laugh a little with Dr. Bernie Siegel. Order Words and Swords now at 800-723-0336. That's 800-723-0336.
Love, Magic, and Mud Pies is a brand new book by Bernie Siegel, M.D. It helps you raise your kids to feel loved, be kind, and make a difference. Bernie, a husband of over 50 years, father of 5 children, and grandparent of 8, shares the gems of wisdom he has gathered from his practice and his own family life. Using his caring, comforting, down-to-earth style, Bernie's book answers parenting questions and gives you a wealth of quotes, anecdotes, and parenting tips, delivered with just the right dose of compassion, inspiration, and gentle humor. Love, Magic, and Mud Pies, an insightful, supportive, must-have guide on every aspect of parenting. Love, Magic, and Mud Pies by Bernie Siegel, M.D. is available on Amazon.com and fine bookstores everywhere. Order it today. And don't forget to hear Bernie Siegel's show, Mind, Health Matters, right here on HealthyLife.net.
The Book of Miracles by Dr. Bernie Siegel contains inspiring stories of healing, gratitude, and love. Heartwarming and heart-opening, these stories were gathered from decades of his medical practice. The stories are riveting, warm, and demonstrate what we are capable of. They show that we can achieve miracles as we confront life's difficulties. Discover the importance of how changing from the inside out opens the door for a miracle to take place, and more, in Dr. Bernie Siegel's new book, A Book of Miracles. Get it now at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or your favorite bookstore. Dr. Bernie Siegel's A Book of Miracles.
Smudge Bunny, a book for children by Dr. Bernie Siegel, is based upon a true story of a bunny named Smudge, whom the Siegels really rescued. This charming tale about Smudge Bunny and her mother can help teach a child how to survive difficulties and turn them into blessings, as well as getting greater self-esteem. Smudge Bunny by Dr. Bernie Siegel, a charming tale, a bunny's tale, just for your child. Get it today at Amazon.com, bookstores, or Bernie's website at ecap-online.org.
You're listening to CHSR Real Radio on the web.
Okay, we are back, and we want to hear more from Dr. Bernie and Dr. Jamie because we only have this last segment left. And Jamie, you've got a lot to share with us.
She was in the process, so go ahead, Jamie.
Well, so how did the energetic system upgrade link with the magnesium? So I discovered, I realized I was moved to Florida so I'd find out about this special magnesium, and that in some way I would incorporate it into the energetic system upgrade. And the funny thing is, I hadn't told anybody yet what was cooking, and I get this email from 1440 Multiversity, and they said, we want you to bring your new method to our center. So I went in August, and oh my goodness, the healing was incredible. The healing for every single person. And so now, because it's all energy, whether you have to heal in your body, your mind, your soul, you have unfinished business with someone in spirit, the first thing that we do in the energetic system upgrade is I put the magnesium on you where I feel your body needs it, your heart, your third eye, wherever. And it's like an electromagnetic paddle. It kind of jump starts you and makes you more open to whatever healing you need, whether it's wherever the energetic blockage is. We begin with the magnesium, and then you get kind of like a feeling of being plugged in. You need magnesium for all the electromagnetic functions of the body, and then I can help you energetically communicate and connect to yourself, to others, from the core of your heart and soul. And then once you get that reboot, everything opens up. Love, connection to the earth and spirit planes and vibrancy and joy. It's kind of like saying, what does an orgasm feel like? I can draw you a diagram of the 4 phases and the plateau. It's like we were saying in the break. You have to just experience it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you used that sentence, because I was thinking that, as we're all talking, there may be people listening who say, boy, they got 3 screwballs, on the show. Because of their belief system. They're not willing to open their minds. I always say that if I experience something, I have to believe it. It happened. I may not be able to explain it. Like, who can explain creation in the first place?
If it's of the divine, you can't explain it. That's the whole point. Anything that's of the divine, we don't have words for. It's like for people who believe in God. Well, how do you know God exists? Do you have a photo? It's a feeling. It's love. Love. It's love. And when you connect with spirit, you're just filled with love. They're here to really just help you heal in every way. And what I'm finding with the magnesium is it's kind of got like the energy of the divine source. At 1440, may I share this just to describe, what happened?
Sure, I don't see why not.
Well, as long as I'm here, right? So, this is an example. This one woman, she was one of the first that I did the energetic system upgrade on. So she sat next to me, and I just listened and felt the magnesium has to be on her throat and her heart. And I could feel something was clogged, and then I found out she was choking on her words. And as soon as I put the magnesium on her throat, she said, oh, I feel clearer. I put it on her third eye. I feel clearer. My heart feels more open. I feel love pouring in. And then I said, let's put it on your liver because you're clogged with anger in your liver. And her best friend who accompanied her, nodded and said it was true. And then she said she felt everything was opening up in her. And I said, let's dialogue with your husband. Her husband's still in a body. And she said to him, why do you always talk over me and shut me down? And I said, refrain it. Don't ask a question. Tell him directly. Empower yourself. Tell him what he does and how you feel about it. And she said, well, I'm afraid to be a bitch if I do that. And I said, well, you're bottling up and you're storing it up, and that'll make you become a bitch. So just say it now. So she said straight out, she said she was angry. He shuts her down. And I asked the group, is she sounding like a bitch? Everybody said no. And she said she was afraid to speak up because her father always called outspoken women bitches. So I said, look, you married your dad. You bite your tongue with your husband the way you bit your tongue with your father. So let's first heal the wound with your dad, and then you'll be more free to speak with your husband. So now we dialogue with her dad in spirit. And I asked her to come up with a memory where Dad shut her down and she bit her tongue. And she remembered taking off on her bike when she was a little girl, and the cops picked her up 5 miles from home. And when she got home, Dad said he was disappointed in her. And I then felt this pain in my heart. And I asked her if she felt hurt in her heart, and she said yes. And she carried the fear of being that free, outspoken woman for her entire life for fear of being shamed. And so I said, look, You need to speak up now and tell your dad how his shaming you made you feel. And she started to cry, and she told him. And then I said, now, what do you hear Dad saying in response? And that's when she said, her dad said, I never meant to hurt you. I was just worried about you. And she burst into tears, and she said she understood. I don't feel shamed anymore. And then when I asked her how she felt, she said light and liberated. I never knew he didn't mean to shame me. And I said, well, yeah, you were too young to talk and discuss it with him. It never got healed. Now let's speak up to your husband and heal that relationship. And she realized then that her husband was afraid of her flying free and leaving him. So I said, well, talk to him. Tell him when he clips your wings, that's the surest way to lose you. He's pushing you away. And your husband's like your dad. He's going to understand and accept what you say just like your dad just did. And she said she knew it was true, and it was a huge energetic system upgrade, and she went on to work it out with her husband. I mean, that's just an example of, one person's upgrade. Everyone needs an upgrade that's unique to her or him, right?
Yeah, I see it a lot of times when people get a life-threatening illness.
Right.
That's when they get an upgrade.
Exactly.
And become a new person.
Right, and the whole point is, Bernie, you always say, don't wait until you have a life-threatening condition. Right. Do it now.
Mm-hmm. And Jamie, I see that the work I do with happiness is, very similar to the work you're doing, although they're two different worlds, let's say. But the ultimate objective that I'm doing in teaching happiness and being a happy person and of having learned that is for other people to experience spiritual freedom, which is really what you're doing, and connection.
Right. Well, connection to yourself, to others, to spirit. Right. We're all here. This life on the earth is our love lab. We're only here to perfect our ability to love ourselves and others.
Yeah, unhappiness can block us from ourselves, just like death can block us from our loved ones. We have no need to, we can eradicate that block. That's what you're doing. That's what I'm doing. That's what Bernie has done in his work.
Right, and you know what? You don't have to believe anything. You don't have to believe in anything. All you need to do is just open up and allow yourself to be free to say whatever's in your heart. You don't have to believe. You can dialogue, whether they're in a body, not in a body. It doesn't matter.
Beautiful.
I always say, I know it's like this inner child who lets everything come out. I know, baby. Control over that kid.
I know, baby. And by the way, people, if you want to have an energetic system upgrade, I don't do many, but if you go to drjamieturndorf.com/energetic system upgrade, you can find out how you can have the experience. I mean, I don't do much work now privately. I do more large groups, TV and radio, but if anyone really feels called to have this experience, that's how you can do it.
Oh, thank you, Jamie. I love it.
Don't be afraid of calling and doing. Those of you.
Love you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Love you.